I think I have unironically hyped myself up more for this video than I have for the Asta video, but it is for good reason. Noelle is probably one of the most interesting characters to dissect in terms of power, since from the very beginning of the story, she has always been implied to be potentially one of the most strongest characters in the Magic Knights, and we get to truly see that in her fights. Spoilers up to chapter 331, and let's get started. I don't want to waste any more time with this intro than I already have to. In terms of strength, Noelle is pretty powerful even from the very beginning of the story. Prior to any sort of training in the Heart Kingdom, Noelle was able to completely tear off Vettel's arm after first obtaining Sea Dragon's Roar, which eats the third eye being stated to be stronger than Patri by Patri himself, and could even weaken a third eye amped salamander who was burning down the entire Witch's Forest, and was even stated to be able to tear apart oceans with just a swipe of his claws in the guidebook. Upon reaching the reincarnation arc, Noelle ends up getting a further amp with Valkyrie Dress, a spell that's not only an amp to her stats, but was also able to deal with elves like Kivin, a reincarnated elf who took out Noelle with another Atlas, a spell that disrupted all magic around her, and an elven amped fauna blowing off her entire torso with Sea Dragon's Roar. While the fauna here was seen without Salamander, we have seen that other elves around Apostle level like Kaiser were able to block attacks from Salamander, meaning she should be at the very least relative to the Rage Amp Salamander that had been with Fauna previously. Upon finishing her training in the Heart Kingdom, Noelle's strength grew tremendously, being able to fight on par with Vonica prior to 70% in her Mermaid Valkyrie dress, and was even able to damage her at 70% while fatigued in a weaker Valkyrie dress state. This Vonica, who originally only acknowledged Noelle due to her compatibility with Loro's magic, ended up sending her off with Exploding Life, a spell that covered multiple different parts of the Heart Kingdom by blowing up her Dark Disciples with only fractions of devil power, something Noelle just straight up tanked while fatigued with basically no mana. Not only that, but Vonica had previously fought Loro Pachika and ultimately ended up defeating her and cursing her, with Loro being someone who could use Mana Zone over the entire Heart Kingdom continuously at all times. And this is where things get interesting. After training with the elves to receive ultimate magic, Noelle not only mowed down tons of low-ranking devils that advanced through the first gate alongside the rest of the group, but she also ended up encountering Vonica once again, only this time with a spirit dive of her own. After attaining the spirit dive, Noelle utterly destroys Vonica, and not just any Vonica, but a new 100% that had been eviscerating Charlotte and Rill, two captains that not only had the perfect counter to curse warding magic, but also one of the most adaptable magics in the verse. Not only that, but this was a completely one-sided fight that Noelle only had a 1-minute timer for, and she stated she would beat Vonica within 30 seconds, not even letting Vonica get a single scratch on her and continuously tagging her before Magicula's eventual advent and defeat. Magicula being a supreme devil that was so powerful that Lieb stated that Asta would stand no shot against without Devil Union while she was just half manifested, was able to tank an attack from God's ultimate magic straight to the face and was able to recover from it, but also threatened to kill everyone in the Spade Castle with Exploding Life by killing a devil turned Lord Pachika, and Noelle was able to kill her and cut through her heart with her last few seconds of Saint Stage. Something I do want to point out is something that came about from the latest chapter 331, which states that Magicula is originally not a part of the Qliphauth in the records found by Damnatio. Now, a lot of people tend to see this as a way of downplaying Noelle, since with this statement, Magicula isn't one of the devils that rule the underworld. However, this isn't really anything that would downplay Noelle to the egregious extent that the community would like to imply. After all, in the end, not being a ruler of the underworld doesn't make Magicula not a supreme devil, being in the upper echelon. This also doesn't discredit her soloing 100% Vonica or the fact that she cut down Magicula's heart. Damnatio even states that it is likely that Magicula was Astaroth's successor since he had vanished from the underworld, so saying that Magicula isn't Qliphauth level or at the very least supreme devil level is kind of stretching it, especially when Libe states that they have no shot of winning against Magicula without Devil Union, and that she has performed around the same amount of feats or the same type of feats that other Supreme Devils have. Noelle isn't necessarily known as much for her strength, but more so for her speed. Pre-time skip, she's able to evade attacks from Gaz's Lightning and Valkyrie Dress and was able to tag him with the help of Fenrir and Mimosa with Sea Dragon's Roar. Post-time skip, her speed increases significantly, being able to tango with Vonica and Ludic's Sanctuary in Mermaid Valkyrie Dress, and after attaining Saint Stage, she was able to fondle a 100% Vonica within 30 seconds, and was even able to tag multiple different amped red beasts simultaneously on the exact same panel. In fact, Vonica couldn't land a single hit on Noelle, even though Noelle was up close and personal a majority of the fight and was able to knock her around in 100% without even being fatigued at all. She's also able to keep up with Luck and his ultimate magic, someone who could keep up with Black Asta in his elven form prior to the time skip, and could blitz Venkin, a Dark Disciple whose magic adapted to whatever it made contact with, who compared Luck turning himself into a Spear of Lightning with Keraunos, and was able to blitz multiple mid-ranking devils with his ultimate magic and fight alongside Gaja to clear a path for Noelle. She is also considerable to Devil Union Asta, who beat one of the ancient demons before Devil Union came undone, and the same Asta was able to travel to save Noct from being killed by Lilith and Nama despite the rest of the Black Bulls not even being up to the castle yet, and could dodge attacks from this Lilith and Nama in a confined space. While we don't know any exact stats for how much a Devil Union multiplier would be, you can guess it to be anywhere from around 20 times at the bare minimum, seeing as how Asta was able to solo Supreme Devils in Devil Union when he could barely fight against an 80% Dante with a Devil's Bargain, to upwards of 100 times if you consider Noct's statement of Lilith and Nama being more than 1+1. But that seems like too much of a stretch even for me, so whatever calcs you would give Devil Union Asta here, being around 280 to 400 times in base, to whatever the Devil Union amp would be on top of the Black Form amp, this would make Noelle at the very least upwards of 5600 to 6400 times faster than Light in Spirit Dive. Now this may sound ludicrous, I know, but this is just how high of calcs Devil Union would really be, even if we do try to put a conservative number to it. This isn't even counting the Devil's Bargain amp previously, or any sort of other outrageous numbers that could potentially add up to Asta's speed even higher than what it already should be. It is also pretty implied that Noelle is intended to be the speedster of the group, as most of the times we do see her fight, she is either within high speed battles, like against Kaiven or Vonica, or in battles where overwhelming power just absolutely destroys anyone she battles in one attack. Not to mention, unlike most other speed-based characters in the verse, Noelle is seen moving so fast that she creates after images of herself after each attack, all in one single panel each time, implying that she's intended to be the fastest in the group, at least aside from Asta. Hell, even with Yuno and his star magic teleporting him, we don't see that movement along the panel, it's just from one panel to the next. So this would be the tier of speed I would put Noelle at. Bully me in the comments saying that I'm wrong or whatnot, but that's just how it be sometimes. Noelle really doesn't have that many hacks compared to most other characters in the verse, since pretty much everyone already uses Mana Skin in some form of Mana Zone or runes to fight, but the main hacks comes from her main spell being Valkyrie Dress. In Valkyrie Dress, not only does her strength and speed increase, but she also gains the ability to control the mana around her while within that armor, as stated by Kivin. This not only allowed her to fight under another Atlas, a spell that disrupted the spells of everyone aside from the user and made it so their attacks would never miss, but also allowed her to power null and override Woeful Compass, a spell that repelled Sea Dragon's Roar earlier in the battle. Not only that, but the advanced mobility allowed her to dodge and avoid lethal wounds from a 70% Vonica from point blank range, as well as defend against exploding life while fatigued and basically out of mana. And she gets all of this alongside Saint Stage and Spirit Dive with Undying, attaining the power to kill devils. This is especially impressive since this is something even Langris couldn't do, someone whose magic was able to negate the durability and utterly erase anything that it touched. Now this isn't saying that Saint Stage scales above durability negation, but it is something to point out when Xenon even says himself that spatial magic that can erase everything can't erase a devil's heart after a devil's bargain. As for any sort of Spirit Dive multipliers, which I should have gone over more in depth with Yuno, you could debate that Noelle's Spirit Dive had a higher increases than Yuno's, since even though the two of them have fought similar enemies, Noelle was able to beat her enemy a whole lot quicker, though you could chalk that up to hacks. I would also bring up the pushing past your limits thing, but I'm pretty sure going over that a third time might just be a bit overkill, especially when that's pretty much a staple with every character up to this point. In all honesty, it is kind of sad that Noelle didn't get any chance to do anything big aside from fight Magicula, not only because that would have looked good aesthetically seeing the Light Triad fighting together, but we have a lot of things that we could have seen, like if Valkyrie Dress could have worked under gravity magic or anything along those lines. We can just assume it does since it did work under another Atlas, but it was just a missed opportunity. Aside from those aforementioned things, the only other thing she does have is an insane amount of mana, something that's been stated from the very beginning of the series, as even in chapter 5, Noelle was able to make a ball of water magic that was the size of the Black Bull's base, and was able to make the entire underwater temple shake upon just receiving Sea Dragon's roar during the fight with Veto. Even Kivin noted that Valkyrie dress by itself had an astronomical amount of magic concentrated into it after she flooded the first iteration of another Atlas. Just take a moment to think about that. The elf, the race of beings that have been known for having an extraordinary amount of mana, something that is stated numerous times throughout the arc, is saying that Noelle's new spell has an astronomical amount of magic and was able to have it overridden by her. Just saying, that's gotta mean something at the very least. Oh. Didn't think it would be over that quickly. Oh well. Next video will be something I actually had a lot of thought put into while I was making the Light Triad videos, so you'll see that real soon. Though I will say it is something that would be a really cool hypothetical because of how many different outcomes there could be and how debatable the topic really is. I swear we won't be a Black Clover only channel, but if there is anything that would interest me to talk about it, you will be sure that you will see a video on it. Anyways, that's all for now. Be sure to like and sub, or don't if you absolutely despise my content, and as always, ciao.
今ここで限界を超えろ。それしか道はねえ。俺たち金色の夜明け団だ。クローバー王国最強の魔法騎士団だ。